Last but by no means least, this is the last panel of the second or the morning of the second day of the meetings of Casablanca of Insurance, which is about the micro-insurance as a way to maybe minimize the deficit of social care, medical care, and enlarge the insurance regimes that are public. It's my pleasure to welcome Lisa Morgan, technical specialist at the ILO's Impact Insurance Facility. Hello, Lisa Morgan. Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tous.
Bonjour et bienvenue à vous. And it's my pleasure to welcome as well Kawasi Boaene, Director of Advocacy and Partnerships at Farm Access Netherlands. Welcome, Kawasi, with us here in Casablanca, I mean from Netherlands.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Itumeleng Kafela, good afternoon.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being with us. I'm just, I recall you're the head of actuarial BIMA. Again, thank you for being with us. So my first question is to Lisa. Of course, you have an emphasis on social justice. The facility's focus is on financial inclusion and risk management solutions for low-income populations, including microinsurance and inclusive insurance. Can you briefly introduce the ILO's impact? Because it's been about impact since the day, since yesterday and since we started this manifestation here in Casablanca. So ILO's Impact Insurance Facility.
Okay, thank you so much. So yes, I would like to start out by introducing the ILO's Impact Insurance Facility. So for those of you who are not familiar with this, the Impact Insurance Facility, which was originally called the Microinsurance Innovation Facility, was originally launched in 2008 with a generous grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we're housed at the International Labour Organization, which you might know is an intergovernmental agency and the oldest part of the United Nations. And we collaborate with the insurance industry, governments, and other financial providers, such as microfinance institutions and others, to realize the potential of insurance for social and economic development. And of importance to us, as you can imagine, is how insurance can contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular to the ILO's mandate on decent work. So our specific focus, as you mentioned, is financial inclusion. So how do we bring in populations within a country that don't have access or are not using financial services as they could be? And we specifically want to help increase the risk management capabilities of low-income populations, primarily in developing countries. And we do this by looking at both the demand and supply side factors of inclusive insurance. So just to say that inclusive insurance and microinsurance, these phrases are interchangeable. So what we do is we work on the demand side by helping with raising awareness, consumer education, and building trust through working, for example, working with regulators. We work on the supply side, for example, by testing new financial products, approaches, and operational processes. And we also run a string of trainings on inclusive insurance with various educational institutions where we train trainers and co-deliver training that we've developed. So in summary, our mission is to enable the insurance industry, governments, and their partners to realize the potential by building quality risk management solutions at greater scale. And we achieve this by doing three main things: by stimulating innovation, unlocking capacity, and thirdly, accelerating the development of inclusive insurance markets in selected countries.
Thank you. Kawasi, okay, for those not familiar with Farm Access, can you explain, but very briefly, the general approach of your organization? And as well, if you could share some highlights and lessons from government or private sector health insurance agencies that you consider to be innovative models for Africa. I believe there are many, but if you can just give us some quick examples. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, thanks a lot. So briefly on Farm Access, the focus is, we are a bit aligned with what Lisa said. The focus is making sure that the vast majority of people in Africa who don't have access to care, that those people will be able to get access to care that they can pay for, and the quality is good. So we focus primarily on four things. One is health financing, so supporting both government and private sector to develop insurance programs for the informal sector or for people who don't have access to care. The second is on supporting the healthcare providers, in this case, clinics, hospitals, governments, and etc., to improve upon the quality of care. Because we've seen that in countries where, there's insurance, if the quality of care is not there, people won't go and pay for insurance. The third aspect is, and this is more on the private sector side, if you want private sector to improve upon care, it costs money, and there should be financing. So we have set up an impact fund, which we call Medical Credit Fund. And the Medical Credit Fund provides technical advice, but also financing to entrepreneurs in the healthcare sector. And the fourth one is using technology, to make all this work. So when it comes to exciting things that we can share, first of all, what we've seen is that investment is key in the provision of care in Africa. So the Medical Credit Fund is quite an innovative initiative where, collaborating with social investors across the world. And so in the past, we've received capital from the US, from Europe, whether from individual investors or from institutional banks, and then working with entities in Africa to extend financing to the private sector. One of the challenging things, as you may know, is that if a private individual goes to a bank for a loan, the bank will always require collateral. And we're dealing with private sector where, some of the clinics will be very small. So if you ask them for collateral, the collateral that they have to provide is sometimes bigger than the loan that they need. And then what you see is that these individuals cannot go for the loan. So with the technology, what the Medical Credit Fund has done is that it has is working with all these providers to have access to a digital platform, which makes it easier for the Medical Credit Fund to have insights into their turnover. So if you have insight into someone's turnover, then you can use that to provide funding for the individual. And in that case, healthcare facilities in Kenya and Ghana, they are getting access to financing, which I think is key. The second one, and then I will stop because also for the sake of time, is that we know that the role of government in providing financing to pay for insurance is key. I'm from Ghana. In Ghana, what we've seen is that because the government has a prominent role in terms of policy in saying that we're going to pay for people who cannot pay, so they have set up a special fund. They've used their VAT, part of their VAT, to set up a fund, and they use that fund to finance considerable part of the care, in addition to what those who are working should contribute. So if you work, you contribute a certain percentage of your pension, and those in the informal sector, they pay a certain amount, but it's not comparable to the service that they get. So, you know, in all the countries, we've seen that where the government has a prominent policy in saying that we're going to contribute to finance insurance, we've seen that it helped both the private and the public sector in delivering on good quality insurance.
Okay, thank you, Kwasi. Itumeleng, how's the BIMA expanding its micro insurance services to bridge the gap in access to healthcare, and maybe if you can name some of the challenges that are faced in the micro insurance sector in Africa.
All right, thank you so much for the question. Maybe before I answer, just to give a brief intro to BIMA. So BIMA is a global microinsurance and telemedicine startup that was established in 2010. We currently have operations in 9 markets globally, so 7 in Asia and 2 in Africa. So to answer that question, how are we expanding our microinsurance services to bridge the gap in access to healthcare? Well, I think just a bit of a background again. So for the first 5 years of the business, BIMA specifically focused on bridging the gap in insurance access for customers. So over 75% of our customers are accessing insurance for the first time. They've been traditionally overlooked by traditional players. But what we've realized is that it's not just enough to bridge that insurance gap because our customers actually lack access to both financial services, but also health services. And so in 2015, actually, we started expanding our services to also include telemedicine. We find that telemedicine provides a more tangible, everyday benefit to our customers in addition to insurance. And I think it's quite important that, you know, our customers have something tangible that they can more easily resonate with. Obviously, insurance is new to them. And so telemedicine, we believe, can help our customers stick. And it really just helps us just provide more holistic protection for our customers, not just from an insurance perspective, but also from an everyday primary healthcare perspective as well. So through our insurance and healthcare services, we've been able to, you know, bridge the gap in both insurance and also in access to healthcare with our customer base. And then just on to the second question, just around the challenges. I'd say there have been a lot of challenges in the microinsurance sector. I don't think the sector as a whole has it figured it out yet. I think there's a lot of challenges, but I think one of the main ones I'd say is a lack of viable payment channels. And this is there because a lot of our customers don't have access to bank accounts. The banking penetration rates in our markets are quite low, and so we've had to find new ways of enabling payment of our products. Initially, partnerships with mobile network operators were seen as the silver bullet for microinsurance distribution and payment. However, a lot of challenges have arisen because of this. So, for example, prepaid customers are not in the habit of using their prepaid airtime wallets to pay for other services such as insurance, and so you find that a lot of the time there just isn't enough balance in the airtime wallet of the customers to be able to enable successful premium deduction. And yeah, so I think that's really been a key challenge and something that needs to be solved in terms of how do we collect payments successfully for our products. Yeah.
Okay, Lisa, so taking into account your experience, what is, of course, we just, Itumeleng just shared with us some challenges. So how, or what isn't being done and should be so that, so particular challenges in delivering inclusive health insurance could be managed and overcome?
So, yeah, I think in answer to that, I would like to reference a paper that I wrote a few years ago on this topic. Because, I mean, as the Impact Insurance Facility, we work with a lot of different providers at the forefront of inclusive insurance, thinking about how we can develop certain products. But actually, the paper that I wrote took a step back to kind of analyze, well, you know, we have this problem where, you know, in trying to serve the low-income populations, many have never experienced insurance before in their lives. And at the same time, you have this parallel drive of many governments to be offering universal health coverage. So it's very confusing, I think, for people to be hearing about universal coverage and health coverage in the news, but at the same time, you know, there's messaging coming that there's this thing called health insurance that they can also buy and use. And so what we propose is that financial service providers can help bridge the gap by thinking about it as offering a holistic approach. Now, I could try and share a slide. Would it work for me to share a slide?
No. Actually, yes. We have 5 minutes left. So,
okay.
And 5 minutes for you and
I'll
the two other.
Brief.
Yes,
yeah.
And the two other panelists. So, if you could just summarize, because you still have like
I have
1 minute to finish.
That pictures this.
Thank you, Lisa.
Essentially, what our solution is offering a holistic bundle of solutions. So thinking about how you can bundle together different financial savings, different financial products, alongside access to a UHC plan. So here what I'm talking about is you look at the healthcare expenses from the lowest to the most significant and most catastrophic, and think about which different financial solutions could help solve mitigating the risks associated with these costs. So here what we promote is using health savings and loans for very small, predictable expenses.
Okay.
On top of that, adding simple health insurance like hospital cash. So like the product that Bima has put out there, that's perfect. Hospital cash, very simple product that complements universal healthcare coverage. At the same time, helping to enroll people into universal health coverage programs where this is needed in a country, for example, like in Ghana or in Kenya, where if you're in the informal sector, you essentially have to buy the government-funded health cover. So thinking about bundling that into one product alongside value-added services such as telemedicine. So okay. I'll leave it there.
Lisa, thank you. So you finished. That's great. I didn't have to get you. Okay, last words, maybe Kawasi and Itumeleng. I would start with Itumeleng. Maybe some very, very precise and solution, future-oriented insights.
All right. I think I just have a few insights on how we can be looking at the future of microinsurance, or what things I wish would be part of the future of microinsurance. I think firstly, I think we need to look beyond insurance and trying to see if we can empower our customer base, maybe some way of introducing, say, basic savings products that we can roll out to our customers. So basically, what is next over and above insurance? And I think, yeah, there's a need for greater product innovation in this space. I think the market is hungry for innovation. It's really still quite nascent. So I think a lot of building work needs to be done. And then I think lastly, educating our customers needs to be a priority. I think financial education and literacy is important, not just in the low income segment, but high income segments as well. So I think we can spend a bit more effort on that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your precision and your time management, Itumeleng. Kawasi, please finish.
Yes, so certainly I agree that innovations is key. And you know, when we talk about innovations and technology, most people talk about technology more in the delivery of care. But I think, you know, it's also important, you know, Bima and others are doing it, and pharmacists is supporting countries to do it, but it could be more where, you know, the innovation is more in the arena of how technology can help us to mobilize financing for care and also ensure efficiency in the use of the funding. That if you look at it from insurance side, based on the work that we have done with private sector in Kenya, KPA and Safaricom, which is the Vodafone of Kenya, we've developed a mobile health wallet, you know, and the individual who has this wallet doesn't need a smartphone and just a feature phone. And with that mobile health wallet, you can access insurance, you can have your entitlement deposited in that account. When you go to a hospital, the hospital can assess whether you have entitlement or not, by opening their portal, which is linked to your mobile wallet. So that's really key. Remittances is one of the key sources of financing, which I think we are not leveraging enough to support care.
Thank you.
So when you have the technology, the mobile wallet, or whichever form it will be, enabled to channel that financing, then we're really talking about continuity in financing and delivery of care for people who, for a long time, have not been able to access care. So I think that's quite key, but also supporting healthcare providers. The point I made earlier, particularly the small and the medium-sized ones, to manage their services as business. Because we sincerely believe that universal health coverage can be achieved.
Thank you, Kwasi. Unfortunately, really, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but the timing of the panel is over, and we still have a lot. We have to respect the timing, unfortunately. Thank you, Kwasi, Laisa, Itumeleng. Thank you for enriching the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.